Hey guys, Marcy here. Welcome to my craft room. Today we're going to be working on Roxy's weekly challenge number 9. I know this is airing a little bit after the fact, and if you're paying attention, you'll notice that I combined Roxy's challenges 6 and 7 because they're pretty much the same, and I'm skipping week 8. It just did not speak to me. I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I just wasn't into it. So we're skipping week 8. You can go to her channel and watch that if you're curious. And today we're moving on to week 9. And part of that is because this is something I've been wanting to do anyway. And so this fits right in with one of my projects that I know that I would like to do. So what we are making today are these windowed envelope flip things. And you've seen me do them before. They fit on a journal page like so. So if this was your journal and here's the edge of your page, you just fit them on here and then they flip out. And then whatever's under here can be seen through the window. So it's always really nice if you have something that you want to showcase or whatever and have it peek through the window. Yesterday, I sat down and I made 3. This is what I came up with using some of my envelopes in my stash. When I put these together, you'll notice I have a dark strip on both of these. And even last night, I wasn't sure that I liked them at all. I'm gonna show you how they look on the other side. But today, I'm liking them better. But here's what the backs look like. And then here again is what the fronts look like. So with that, I'm going to show you how we want to make these right after this. The first thing you are going to need for this project are some windowed envelopes. As you cut these, you're going to want to consider if you want all of your envelopes to open from the right or the left. Now when I got started last night, one of these opened on the opposite side, and it appears that during decorating I reversed the direction of the window, so now they're all opening from the left. So I guess I should make some that open from the right. And to do that, I'm going to need to turn them around. 1, 2, that one's open at the top. 3, okay, I'm only going to do 3. Okay, so then the next thing that you want to consider is how tall you want your envelope, because what we're going to do is we are going to cut off this end, and then everybody cut off the flap. And I kept thinking, why don't I use the flap as the flap? Because then they went and made a flap. I was like, you could just use the one that's already there. So I think that's how I want to do it. And in order to get them all flipping the other way, I'm just going to turn them all this way. I feel like you should just utilize the flap that's already there. So I'm going to keep the flap, and then I'm going to trim off these 2 sides here, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do next. Ta-da! Super easy. Okay, so we have, it looks like this. If this was going to hinge out from the page, like so, this is how it looks. And then we're just going to trim off this piece. Now I was contemplating making some of them wider over here so that it made a pocket, and you could do that. But what they were doing was trimming over here. They're trimming off this flap, but then trimming right here and using this crease in the envelope as their hinge. And when you do that, you can cut this as wide as you want so that it makes a tuck spot on the other side of the page. I'm just keeping them small. Now the other thing is, they're keeping them narrow, not small. Now the other thing is, you can see I did not do a super great job of covering. You kind of have to decide when you put it on the page, how do you want to glue it down? So are you going to want to glue it down? Let me grab a page here. Are you going to want to glue it down so that your hinge wraps around the edge of the page? Because if so, it would be nice to have this outside edge decorated. If you're not, and you're just going to glue it onto the page, like so. I've got too many visual distractions. If you're going to glue it onto the page like so, so that it just flips out, then ideally you would want to decorate this part and leave this plain. I just kind of allowed my pages to, my papers to slide over and to overlap because I really don't know what I'm going to want to do until I get there. But I figured that if for some reason I wanted to glue it down this way, I could just put another pretty piece of paper over the top of it to help anchor it to the page, or I may decide to put a wider piece of paper and make it into a tuck spot. For example, I don't even know if I have a good example here, but say maybe I want to make a pocket on the page. I would just cover my flap, and then have a pocket here. It would be held down here. It would be decorated. I don't know. I just didn't quite have the brain space yesterday to figure all that out. I would just definitely encourage you to go check out Rachel's video because she puts a couple of different spins on it and makes pockets. But anyway, I just don't have the brain space today to figure out wide pockets and strips and things. So we're just gonna make it using the flap of the envelope as the actual hinge. And so we're gonna just trim all these pieces off. Okay, so here's what I've got now. These are the inside. Here's what it's gonna look like on the outside. This is my hinge that's gonna hinge it onto my journal page. Okay, so all we're gonna do is collage. And I guess what was putting me off was that I just don't, everybody collages around these things, but if you wanted to try to lay a piece of paper down and use a single piece, you're gonna have to take an envelope, assuming that they all are the same size with the same kind of window. You would take an envelope, you'd punch out this acetate piece, and then you would use it as a template to trace around on your piece of paper. You'd make your piece of paper to size, and I do rather favor that idea, but I just don't have any of these scraps that are big enough to really do that with. So I wound up with the collage method. And what I'm wanting is to collage pattern on the outside and to collage plain papers to the inside, because I think that would look nice. If you have it up against a page, then your journal page is probably going to have a pattern on it, and then this would be more plain so it doesn't compete, and then this would be pretty. Those were all my thoughts. You guys can tell me down below how you would do it. So I'm going to go ahead and get to some collaging, and I am going to not cover this flap. Now there was one other thing. Oh, there is one other thing I'm forgetting that's a very important step in this process, and that is you want to make sure that this is not going to end up taller than your average journal page. So what I did was I trimmed them all to 7 inches this direction. 7 inches high. That just seemed like a good, safe height. So here I am trimming them all to 7 inches high. There we go. There we go. That's a lot better. So then what I did was I inked up this flap because I just think it really looks nice if it's going to be laying down, or if part of it might end up showing when it gets glued down, then you have something there to look at, but you don't have the bulk of the paper obstructing it as it tries to fold. The other thing I did was I went around the window with some ink. And I tried blocking it off with a scrap piece of envelope. I'm going to try it right now, seeing if I can get it to go. Seeing if I can ink around the envelope edge with just my inker. I don't know. We'll see here in a second. If not, I'll show you what I did. And the reason I wanted to do that is because as you're laying down these papers, they may not get exactly to the edge, and so it's just to avoid the white envelope showing. I guess I could lay that down and do it maybe this way. But what I did was just use one of those cutoff pieces. It has a curve here. I just kind of lined it up and went along here. So I was just covering the window envelope because if you get ink on it, this ink won't matter. It will wipe off, but other inks will leave a permanent mark. So let me do that really quickly. There we go, all inked up. Now on the inside, I can't do that because this acetate piece is in the way. It's actually not real acetate, it's more like cellophane. But anyway, the plastic is in the way, but as you're overlapping the edge a little bit with your papers, you'll have overlap on both sides, so it shouldn't be as obvious. So at least it wasn't when I was doing it. Okay, so keeping our flaps in mind where we want to be. Here we go, and now we're just going to cover, going to tear, and I want to find some of these pretty new ones that I just picked out. And then I will try to avoid stark contrasts between like how this was light, really dark. I mean, I think it just stands out on the envelope, and I think that is not as attractive as it could be. This one is probably hands down my favorite because all the colors are kind of in the same intensity of color. Okay. And I'm just gonna really truly collage in gigantic pieces because I just don't want to waste a lot of time with it. What I did do was I deckled my edges. But first, we're gonna measure. And I think I'm going to not worry about whether or not my map is going directionally or not. Well, maybe I should. Here's up. Yeah, that's interesting. Actually, what I want to do is get this part in there. This part, because that's where all the pattern is. All the action, as it were. So how do I want to do that? I can't see. I'll just mark like right there and hope that I did that right. I'm going to give myself a little, I'm just going to go slightly beyond that mark with my ruler because I'm also going to use my decal edge scissors so I can make it more exact when I do that. So what is everyone doing today? What have you got going on? Today, as I'm recording, is daylight savings time, Sunday. And let me tell you, I am yawning all over the place. I could not wind it down last night. So, okay, so see how when I flip it over, you can see this little bit through the edge, through the window. I'm going to take care of that with the scissors. So anyway, so I came home, I took a nap, but I feel like I'm very low energy right at the moment because I can't. I'm just really sleepy, and I shouldn't be that sleepy, but I did have a hard time sleeping last night. And then I realized today, as I was getting ready, that this is this Friday will be my third Friday of the month, so my craft night group will be together, and that's fun. See, I need my glue page. I think I want a different one because this one is all yuckied up. And I've got my purple school glue here. Actually, I'm going to put my cap over there where I can find it again. So yeah, I've got that, which means I also have rehearsal for the slides on Thursday night. So craft group on Friday night, rehearsal for slides on Thursday night, and then actual help run slides on Sunday. So this will be my busy week. We're planning to go out of town here towards the end of March. So we're going to go back over to, oops, turn it that way. We're going to go back over to the Portland, Vancouver area to visit our children who would like us to come now that they have their house and they're getting it all set up. Oh, you know what the other thing I did do on these, I did ink. Which, you know, sometimes I don't ink and sometimes I do, but I feel like inking on these is very helpful because it just helps hide all the edges better and just gives you a more cohesive look. So I also want that glue off of my thing here. That's the wet one. Here's the dry one. Sorry if I'm jiggling the camera. Just trying to avoid getting glue on everything. There we go. There we go. Now I'm happy. And proceed. So anyway, yeah, we're gonna go over there and visit. So that will be fun. We've decided that any clothes shopping we need to do from here on in, we just need to do it when we go over there, because pretty much any place that was decent is no longer in business around here. Now I have a teeny tiny edge showing right here. Can you see that? When I ink around it, it will cover that up, but I wish I had gotten it closer to the edge. Wish I'd done a better job. Yeah, anyway, so it's like you can buy clothes at Walmart. Pennies is definitely way discounted, way more than it. I don't know. Their stuff is just kind of cheap now. And yeah, like all the good, we used to have a lot of good little independent shops, especially for women. And then Sears doesn't exist anymore. Macy's is still there, and Dillard's is still there, but essentially they're at the mall, and essentially the mall is dead. So, okay, so here we go. I just think this decal edge helps cover around this window better, because since this has rounded corners, sometimes I can get the little decal pieces to line up so that the points cover the round, the curve. Anyway, so we've decided we'll probably do more of our shopping when we go now to Portland, because they have more options and better stores and malls, things like that. I mean, you just can't order everything off of Amazon. You know, I mean, it's just really sad how few options we have anymore for places to shop, especially if you want quality. So I just covered that whole thing with glue, and I did not need to. Now this sticks out, and that's because it wasn't straight to begin with. So there's my curve. I could do it like that. That would give you the visual. And then, very unwisely, I glued the whole piece. So now I have to use my scissors that things won't stick to trim this off. And like I said, again, you could wrap this around, and I did do it on some of them. You know what? I think I will. I'm going to. I just like it. And these envelopes, you know, envelopes are in and of themselves are not that thick. They're kind of flimsy. But once you start covering both sides with paper, you wind up with quite a sturdy piece. Okay, so there's that. And then this, it's also nice if you can get it to wrap around. It's very narrow right there. I guess what I don't like about all of the collaging and stuff around the windows is that it just looks blocky. But what I have arrived at is that I think it's just better to use bigger pieces to do that with. I think it just gives a better look. So that is what we're gonna do. That being said, this strip is not wide enough. Let's use a piece of this. This is just scrapbook paper, but it has that texty look. And it's also in the right color tones, and it's also already torn and deckled along the edge. So how handy is that? But if I want to wrap it around, I'm going to want to trim it somewhere around here-ish, give or take. Quickly getting a big spread out mess everywhere. I know this is upside down, but that'll probably get torn off because I just like this deckled defined edge here. And if I was really worried about this showing through the window, I can always do this too on the back side. More inking. Yeah, so the more you can save yourself a step, the better off you are. And wrap pieces around the edges, and I just really thought, I can't remember who I saw do it, but on the inside, she just made that whole section here, a little pocket on the inside, and it was really cool. I was like, yeah, fewer pieces of paper and you cover it up more, and you get better use out of your piece of paper, because, you know, collaging takes time. Now, if I fold this over, where is the edge? Right there. And I could tear this with my decal edge ruler. So I think I will. Should tear okay. Yes, I was listening to a podcast yesterday from the Bible Project. I don't know if any of you guys listened to them, but I went to a school in Portland called Multnomah. It was not even accredited when I went, but now it is a university, and they put out a number of graduates who have done all kinds of incredible things. One of them, his name is Tim Mackey, and he started something called the Bible Project, and he goes through and explains the Bible, but according to what did the writers intend? What were they actually trying to say, you know? And so the accurate interpretation of Scripture, and you just begin to see all the pattern and the beauty, and just how everything fits together. And he also teaches you about important things like, you know, putting yourself in the setting of the author of the time, and what was the ancient world's mindset, because you need to understand that, or else you lose a good portion of what they're trying to tell you when they do their writing. So you have to, he just helps you understand from an ancient world perspective, and once you begin to see all of the patterns and the repetition and things, it's really truly beautiful. And in some ways I feel like I got cheated and was never taught the Bible properly in the first place, but not entirely true. But I mean, it's just nice to understand it, and because once you really begin to understand what the writer's telling to tell you, then you can actually extract from it the meaning you're supposed to get, and then live your life accordingly, not based on some other guy's random interpretation. I mean, it's all there. You just have to be willing to see. You have to be willing to actually read the message that you're being given to receive it, you know? Now, I don't want this to go all the way over, so I won't. So, Tim Mackey happens to go to school with my brother. So I have my brother that lives in Scotland and teaches Old Testament and biblical studies over there. So I have kind of a personal interest in it, but it is just fascinating. I just love it, you know, and I went to a Bible college because I wanted to learn. Well, even though I grew up in church, what does the Bible say? What is it I believe? Why do I believe that? And is that really what I want to believe? You know, better make sure, because if you're going to live your life by something, you better make sure you know what you're signing up for. So, yeah, but yesterday they were having a conference, and they were honoring one of the professors that's been very profoundly impactful on my brother's career and education, as well as Tim Mackey and my brother's good friend Michael and a whole group of students. And now he, of course, is teaching my son-in-law, and it's just so nice to hear good teaching. Just miss it so much. Okay, so there's that side. Here's this side. I'd love to go tour the Bible Project. The offices are in Portland, so that'd be cool. So I'm gonna pause for a sec and come back with these all decorated. All right, I'm back, and because I had the time off camera, I went ahead and made a fourth one, And I'll talk about that here in a minute. I think before I left, I said I was going to decorate them off camera. What I meant was I was going to collage off camera. So these are all collaged and put together. I had talked about taking a single piece and measuring it out, cutting out the window square and laying it down. So I did do that on the blue one, and I really like how it turned out. And then I just wrapped these two pieces over around to the top to give it a little bit of interest. Let's see, that's the outside. So for this fourth one, I went ahead and made the wider flap, okay? This is where the top of the envelope was. This is where it creased at the bottom of the envelope. So instead of cutting it in narrow, I made it wide. I think this is about 2 inches wide. Then I covered it with one single piece of paper that went all the way across over to the edge of the window. When I glue it to a page, I've got one here, I'm gonna have to glue it laying down on the page because I decorated the inside, but then it will lay here as a tuck spot. Had I thought correctly about it, if I wanted to wrap it around the page, I should have decorated the outside edge, and then I would have just wrapped this piece. You know, I would have decorated with one single piece this way. I do like using the bigger pieces and fewer of them. I think that just makes for a better collage. Now on this one, I also oopsed because I wanted to cut the thumb notch here, and as you see, I accidentally cut one right there. So we're gonna fix that. I pre-prepared a piece here that I can punch out, and I'm just gonna cover it with my tab punch. So I just got a matching piece of paper and I glued it to the base of the envelope, glued it to an envelope base. Boy, my words have left me while I was off camera. Glued it to an envelope base so it would have the same thickness, and then I'm going to just put it over here before I decorate the fronts of these. Now I also went ahead while I was off camera and found all the little pieces that I want to decorate with. It's still too tall to slide in there. And so I've got all that pre-assembled so that we can whiz through it pretty quickly without a lot of me guessing and everything. It was nice though to go looking through all of the ephemera now that I've got it sorted correctly. So what I'm doing here as I punch this, because I still believe they made this punch upside down and I really wish they'd fix that flaw, I'm leaving a little space, a little gap between the very top of where this punches and the crease where I folded it, so that when I punch that, I have a whole complete tab. I'm going to ink it up really quick. I also inked these while I was off camera so that you didn't have to sit through that. But I wanted to show you this little fix that I was doing here. And then we'll put the decorations on. And I kind of came up with similar look for all of them, kind of the same kind of idea to decorate, because that saved me a lot of time. And then I didn't have to think so hard about how to decorate each one. So I'm gonna glue that right onto there, and then that will fix that problem, and it'll also let you know to flip it up. It's just a decorative element, but it also hides the boo-boo. As we often say in junk journal land, there are no real rules, and there's nothing you can't fix. I mean, there's no mistake that can't be turned into something else. And because junk journals are so loose, you know, they have such a variety of things in them. You really can do pretty much anything and it'll look fine. Now this is cracking right here. I may end up taking a piece of washi tape and just wrapping it over to look pretty as well. So I won't do that right now because I would have to go drag out all my washi tapes. I don't wanna. But yeah, I think that's what's gonna end up happening there. So there we go. So I fixed that. It's a little crooked, but it's down, so it will stay crooked. Okay. I'm putting the pin back in my glue here. There we go. Pin back in glue. Very good. Okay, so what I decided for the outsides, let me do the outsides first. I realized as I was arranging all these pieces that a couple of these inside arrangements I arranged on the outside of the envelope. But that's neither here nor there. We'll get that fixed. Now I put the pin in my glue, but I really still need the glue. So there you go. Okay, so for the outside of each one, I basically took some kind of strip of coordinating paper, and then I'm taking one of these clusters that I made and a label. And so we're just gonna glue these down. Oops, should have glued the strip first. Can you see what I'm doing? Am I even in frame? Yeah, there we go. Needed to glue this down first. But now that, did I already say this? Now that I've organized my ephemera, it was a lot easier to find all the pieces. I need a couple new packets though, a new couple of organizer containers. So I have a lot of my ephemera in those trifold pouches from Hobby Lobby, and I really like them. They have lots of little zippered pockets inside, kind of like playing with a new purse. And I do like them. I don't know that I'm gonna be able to find one that matches, which is going to bother me because I like it when things match sometimes. Not in junk journals, but in other things, other areas of my life, I do like some things to match. I'm gonna glue down all these little parts that are sticking up, and I may need to clamp it, but I don't have any clamps over here. I'll just hold that for a sec. I also noticed these were crinkling badly. The microphone was picking up the crinkle, so I'll try not to crinkle too much. My voice is over here and the crinkle is right below the microphone. Here we go. Here's that. And okay, so that's the middle. Okay, this goes on the outside. So this one, I just wanted to use a piece of music. I picked the side that I thought was prettier. It's completely subjective. There is no right or wrong. And then I picked this pretty one because I like the colors, how they matched up out here with what was out here. So yes, lots of butterflies in my packs. Gonna just have to decorate with a lot of butterflies and be somewhat cliche, but on the other hand, butterflies are pretty and they pretty much go with everything. I won't be running out anytime soon. Now, when I wrap that around a page, this is gonna stick out slightly. I think that'll be okay. It's not enough to worry about, I don't think. And then these stickers, I think, peel up very nicely. There we go. I've been trying to find a good way to use this one because it has such a weird shape, but it works. It works on this one. Scoot that up. Okay, next. This one I had a hard time with. I was really having trouble figuring out placement and what to put under this that would stand out enough. And then I remembered that I had stamped some of these, so that helped me. I think I want to ink around that very quickly. There's not much ink on here. I think my walnut stain is getting dry already, or maybe it's this pad. It could be this pad because it's all chewed up. It needs to be refreshed or replaced. So it's not really grabbing all the ink as much as I would like. So I stamped a lot of these on just scraps of coffee dyed paper, and as well as you saw me in the video where I was doing the numbers and word strips. So I have edges of book pages and lots of pieces of little flat paper that came out of the fly leaves, you know, the blank pages in books and stuff. And so it made a really nice paper, and it's a really nice lightweight for laying down on things. Now this one I liked. I'm putting the postage mark down at the bottom, even though it's kind of upside down, but I liked it because of that postage mark. So I played with it several different ways, and it shows up better on the bottom half. So that's what we're going with. So I think I mentioned that I would link my video where I made all of these little clusters. So that will be up in the cards up above and at the end on the end screens, and I can link it down below in the comments in my description box. Okay, there's that one. And then this one. Let's see, how did I want you? I really loved this butterfly right here. Everybody scoot over for a sec. Really, really love the colors in that butterfly. And these are all from various ephemera packs, and some of them are quite old. There were a bunch of K & Company ones, that I ordered several years ago. And then I heard that K & Company was going to go out of business, you know, that they were, oh, see, I did it again. That they were going out of business. So then I was trying to buy up as many as I could that I liked. But some of the styles you'll see, they go together and some don't. It's just good to finally use up the things that I purchased. So we're still having a very cold winter season, even though it's March, although March tends to, if we've had a nicer February or it gets nice at the end like it does sometimes, not this year, but sometimes it does, and then March will come along and destroy any illusions of winter being over, and it certainly is doing that this year. March 1st was a very snowy day. Big snowstorm. It definitely came in like a lion, and I don't think it's going to leave like a lamb at all. Okay, there's that one. So now, flipping over, I got to get these lined back up so I don't accidentally put the wrong one on the wrong thing. Put the pin back in the glue very quickly. So what I decided to do on the insides was to take some of these definition stamps that I had stamped out in that video, and the video on the labels, which I will also link up above and down below and at the end, I guess. I had stamped a bunch of these, as you know. So I just trimmed these down, and I did want to ink around them, but first I need to do this part. I want to angle the corners, and I have this handy dandy little angled corner punch that does that, but you can always, you know, trim them by hand. Oops, now see, like that one looks like it's a little off. Maybe it's not. You can always trim them by hand and do that. Or you can make your little template and just trim using the template. Either way, it's going to take some time, but that's why I have this now that I know what to do with it. So let me take a second while I finish that, and then I'll be right back. Yeah, there's that done. So I went ahead and clipped the edges of both pieces, both layers, and then inked. So now we're going to lay these down, and one at a time we'll go through and decorate up on the inside. So this was kind of a unifying feature that I did on all of them just to make it easy. Not because they're going to all end up in the same journal. That would be a lot. But because I liked the look, and it's easier to just recreate one look that you like than to come up with several different ones. But I do enjoy these stamps, you know, with the definitions on them for this very reason, because they just make everything look really cool, amp up the cool factor. And then when you have different colors that you're using, it just really makes it look nice. So I want to scoot that one over for a sec, and then I kind of want to work on the two right in front of me because it's getting awkward to go back and forth. So this one, the paper had these two images in it of the postage stamps, and so I like that. I just pretended like maybe I had added them, and then I just wanted to piggyback off of that. So this sticker, I hope this shows up enough. I wanted it. I mean, I know they're washi stickers, so they are somewhat transparent, but anyway, I just hope the colors on this pop up enough. Now I can't get this. There we go. I was reading in the comments on somebody's video. I don't remember whose or what video or when. It was a little while ago, but she said she used to work for QVC, and her job was to peel the backing or to start all the stickers so that when the demonstrators were on camera, then they didn't have to do this thing like I'm doing right now, like try to figure out how to get the backs off of things. So that was one of her jobs. I thought that sounded like a really interesting job. And how do they put that in the credits? Do they put like sticker peeler? The sticker peeler. I don't know. I'm sure there's some kind of a title name for that kind of job, all the little background nitty-gritty things that people do. Kind of like when you're on stage and you're a stage hand. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's what they call them, is a stage hand. I don't know. I used to work with some ladies way back in the early 90s that they ordered all kinds of things off of QVC all the time. Now what I was wanting was to hide that dark, but I think no matter which way I do it, it's not gonna hide, so I'll just lay it down how I had it. I want it to overlap the orange just the easiest bit. There we go. Up and over. There we go. There's that one. Okay, I'm going to scoot that up and then work on this one. So here's another one of those stamped pieces I did. I don't think I did these on camera. Well, I did one or two maybe. I really, see, these are some of those K & Company pieces. Isn't that the prettiest with that sage green? I used to have, when we did our remodel down in the old part of Boise in the North End, when we remodeled that home, my bedroom, our master bedroom, I did kind of this sage green and soft dusty rose pink, and it was, we used wallpaper because I was trying to get kind of that old feeling. Now see, this one doesn't stand out enough, and the reason why is because I accidentally arranged this on the front side of the envelope, not on the inside. I should have chosen a darker one. So what I'm going to do is just make it darker. There. Voila! Instant shading. There we go. So anyway, I just love that color combination of the sagey green with the dusty rose. And of course, one of my friends, her wedding was in those colors. And I just kind of fell in love with it. I feel like it's a really timeless look, you know? I'm wanting the plate to kind of bump up against the circle. Here we go, right there. So let's mark that for a second where that's gonna go. I used up quite a lot of my old strips and pieces doing that video with stamping on the paper strips. So that was nice. I don't think I ever really need to save anymore ever again. I'm kind of getting to this point in my life where, you know, when you're young and you're like, oh yeah, we got all the time in the world. But I'm kind of realizing lately that some things I really do have now a lifetime supply of them, because I'm either going to not use whatever that product or implement item is, tool, whatever. And I'm not just referring to crafting, I'm like in our general household too. I'm like, you know what? We probably don't need to buy that ever again. We've probably got enough. So I probably have a lifetime supply of paper strips, because I'm not gonna paper craft for the next 40 years, probably. I'll probably move on to something else. I'd like to resurrect my cross stitching, actually. I always had plans to do that. I was just talking about cross stitching at church with a lady. Okay, there's that one. Isn't that just the prettiest? How it just, I like how they all kind of overlap, and then your eye just follows the arrangement. Okay, so here's this one. And this is the other one I accidentally arranged on the front of the envelope instead of inside where I was supposed to. So that may not work now. Here we go. If I put that exactly right here, maybe this should move over to the other side. That would work. In fact, I think that's how I had it on the front. Okay, well, if I have to, I'll just snip off part of that flower. Okay, and I am going to go around the edge of this because it looks like it doesn't stand out quite enough. And the same with this guy. I like the grayishness of it, but we definitely want to highlight the edges. So yeah, I am doing quite a bit of inking in this video. Well, might as well do this one. Don't want him to feel left out. This is a good way to use up some of those tiny pieces of ephemera. So I think I had told you I had bought the field notes, the Tim Holtz field notes. Well, I had bought over the last little while, I've gotten a few different sets. So I've gotten the field notes and I've gotten the number ones like I was showing you. The ones with the, what were they called? Number strips or something. They're all part of his snippets collection. But they are so tiny, and I thought, man, I just have to find projects that need tiny things. Now, how did I just have that? I had it down here. I want the leaf to follow this. Can you see? Am I obstructing your view? But in order to do that just right, then I want this lined up right about there, and this lined up there, and that lined up there. That's what I was trying to figure out. So, you scoot. I want this one, the corner here. I want this one to be right there, and I want this one to be right there. Okay, now that I've got all my little markers, we can just whiz right along. I hope this video isn't too long. Since I'm piecing it together and going away and coming back, it may be longer than I want it to be. I hope not. Trying to keep them definitely under an hour and ideally under 55 minutes. And then speed me up on playback. I know I say that all the time, but it's a very effective technique. Speed up the playback. I watch almost everybody now at 1 1/4 speed, unless they're a very slow talker, and then I bump them up to 1 1/2. Now I noticed I peeled up that little edge on accident, so we'll fix that while we're doing this. Here we go. And that one can pretty much go however I want it to. Oh, that's so pretty. Love it. I'm gonna trim that off right now. There we go. Oh, I like these pieces. They're just so tall and skinny. They don't fit for a lot of things, and sometimes the blue shade is not quite right. Okay, and then this guy now, this guy was very precise. So now that we have our little tabby on there, I have this, and again, using the image that's already printed on the paper, so it looks like one of the elements in my arrangement. Let's see, that one's gonna go kind of like, I wanna make sure I'm in frame for you. The problem is the camera over here is over here on this side of the phone, but I'm working more directly under it, so sometimes I look like I'm too far over to the right, and I don't mean to be. Okay, I know how. I did it like this, I think. That direction, and this one went that direction. Okay, so gonna mark that. That one just kind of goes however I want it to. And then this one. And this one I didn't ink because I really wanted it to pop up against the background, stand out from the background. So, and it does, because it's very light, you know, compared to the dark tan of the background and the greens. It's very light on this paper, so it does stand out like it should. All right, yep. It's asking me to ink it, so I'm doing it. This thing, I need to refill it, so it's protesting a bit. But you're almost done. Hang in there, little buddy. Okay, that one is going right there. And I want it to crisscross the paper and overlap the stamp. This one doesn't really need inking. For the most part, I do like these little bottles. They came with these pins. Now these are linked in my favorite things down below. And if you choose to purchase through those links, I do receive a very tiny penny-sized commission, but it doesn't cost you anything extra. I think it costs, honestly, I think it costs the vendor to be part of those programs. But anyway, I do receive a very small commission if you purchase through my links. But what I was trying to say is that the pins that came in them are the stainless steel so they don't rust, but the heads keep popping off. So I only had 4 bottles and each one had its own pin, and I think I've used 3 of the 4 pins that came with them. And I tried to buy stainless steel pins at one point and I could not. They weren't. They said they were, but they weren't. They started rusting immediately, so I was really aggravated. And I went and put on the review. These are definitely not stainless steel because it made me feel better. Because I am a child. Okay, yeah, anyway, so that's why I have this other pin bobble on there, but then that has its own issues, you know, trying to get that thing in there. It is pretty though. Okay, so here's what we've got. Ta-da! And here's the ones I was doing first. 1, 2, 3, those were the prototypes. I'll scoot this down a bit. So all in all, now I have 7. And then I'll make a couple more in my spare time, because as we're doing the challenge again, I'm trying to do like Gail Augustinelli is and do one that's for Christmas, but I also would like to do one with a masculine theme so that next masculine journal, I have lots of things to put in it to choose from. So yeah, these are all somewhat feminine and floral, and then trying to use all the butterflies, but also I really love the dragonfly. I think he's so cute. And one of the things I meant to point out on here, see these little tiny pieces of tape? They actually came off of the roll of some lace, some vintage lace that I had bought at the thrift store. And when I decided to take it off the ginormous spool and just wrap it around a card, it was taped up with this little piece of tape. So I used part of it right here to anchor this to look like, you know, we'd taped it into a book. It was just a little too long, so I trimmed it off, and then I used those 2 pieces to tape this down and look like it was taped to the page. And I have to say, this brings me complete and utter delight. I just think it's so darling with those little tape pieces on there. So cute. And the dragonfly, I really do love that one. Really do. So those were the 3 prototypes. And then here's what we did today. So I'll bring them in one at a time. The blue, pretty blue one. And there we go. And this one with the pretty greens and pinks. There we go. And this one has kind of that, oops, it's got a piece on it. Has kind of this peachy orange. It's not like a pale peach, it's a darker, I don't know what color this is exactly, but I like it better than peach, and I think it's really pretty. So there's that one. And then on the back side, this. And then there's this one with the wider flap that I can glue down on a page to make a tuck spot. And then there's the inside. Again, with all these pretty soft colors. It's just such a gorgeous palette. I love color. Okay, guys, that is it for today. Let me bring in the quote. What are we reading today for our daily encouragement and inspiration? All right, here it is. Today's quote is from Henry Seidel Canby, and he said, "Live deep instead of fast." Live deep instead of fast. Live a deep life, not a fast life. Go a little bit slower. Invest your time and your energy in things that are a little bit more meaningful, deeper than quick, and you'll be living a pretty good life. Okay, so that is it for today. This was Roxy's Challenge, week 9. Stay tuned for week 10 coming up in the near future. I actually enjoyed week 10, although I can't tell you right off the bat what it was. But I know I found it quite delightful. So anyway, I'll definitely be doing week 10. Okay, that wraps it up. I would love to chat with you guys in the comments. Remember to give me a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, type me a little comment, do all the things, and be inspired and do something creative today. I'll talk to you in the next video. Bye-bye now.